So my initial reaction was I wasn't even sure what to make of it. We had been watching the news and we had seen districts across the country begin to shut down.
Alicia, still a lot of questions surrounding both of these cases. Here's what we know about the confirmed case from...
It was kind of like watching a house of cards fall. I imagined we would be back to school within a couple of weeks, that things would settle down within a couple of weeks, but that's not what happened. When we first went to virtual school, I didn't really have a place in my home to teach virtually. So I tried the kitchen table, and I tried teaching from my bedroom, and I tried teaching from a corner of the basement. Some of the big difficulties of trying to teach online were, for one, the technology. So this is my 28th year teaching, and never in that time had I ever had to teach on Zoom. I wasn't really sure how to work Zoom at the beginning. So learning how to do Zoom, everything that goes with it, breakout rooms, and getting kids to turn their cameras on, that was incredibly difficult. I wasn't sure what lessons to provide to kids because kids were kind of checked out of school at that time in the very beginning. I would say that trying to figure out how to adapt my classroom management style to an online learning style was really difficult because I had never done such a thing before. So I would say the initial transition was really rough. I didn't realize when the kids first started coming in how reliant I was on reading their facial expressions to determine whether or not they were confused about a lesson, to see the kind of emotions that they were feeling. So I would say that that was a 10 out of 10 difficult for me. When we went to asynchronous and hybrid, I also found that more challenging than just teaching straight on Zoom. When I had all the kids on Zoom, then I could put in a lot of parameters in place. I made sure that we had digital assignments, and then I could have the kids turn cameras on and off. I could put them in breakout rooms and meet with them individually. And then when it came time for asynchronous and hybrid, we had like every other day school. And that was really difficult because it felt like kids weren't able to hold on to the material that I had taught a couple of days previously. And then when we had hybrid school, I found that to be extremely challenging because I had a set of maybe up to half my class on Zoom and the other half of my class in front of me. And I also wanted to protect myself, so I needed to stay near my desk. I felt kind of scared to mix and mingle with kids at that time. So I found it very difficult to figure out ways where I could interact with the kids in person while also interacting with the kids on Zoom. Keeping both groups engaged was really a challenge. At the middle school, they made an agreement that instead of like a 5 or 6 minute passing time, the kids had a 10-minute passing time, and they taped off the floors so that it was kind of like a highway. And you would stay on your side, the right side, and kids would just do laps until your door opened. My procedure was I would have to shut my door. I already had double masks on, which was kind of tiring. And then I would use sanitary wipes. But to prepare myself to even handle the sanitary wipes, I had to put on rubber gloves, I had to put on a face shield, and then wipe down all the tables in my classroom, the backs of chairs in all my classroom. So that took a lot of time out of the day, and then you had to wait for the tables to dry before kids were allowed to be in the room. So I would say that I handled it the way I was told to handle it. It felt the entire time extremely bizarre. Like seeing myself with rubber gloves and a face shield on just really took me aback. And it felt like, could I continue doing this if this was the way of the future? When it first started, I was kind of hesitant. We had been told all the time to keep the kids socially distant. And at first, I really tried to do that. I brought in extra tables to my classroom so that people could sit alone at a table. And then over time, we got more and more kind of used to the pandemic. And so we had to see kind of how things would work out with kids sitting next to each other, or how do we accomplish a group project without having kids sit close together face to face. There was a lot of management with like making sure that kids kept their masks up. I also felt like I had to adjust for a while. Over the course of the pandemic, I feel like my stamina was tested. And when the kids came back to school, I could tell definitely that their stamina was tested. Some of the kids that I taught had not been in a school for a year, and that really showed. Some kids were afraid of being around other people. A lot of kids had issues with their social development, being able to make friends. Their attention span has been affected, it seems like, because they had spent the previous year just like watching YouTube videos or interacting with TikTok and Instagram and things that were really short. So holding their attention for a long period of time was really difficult. But we've continued to make it work. It feels like now things are starting to get back to normal since the kids are able to like play sports, for example, attend activities like clubs and stuff that they're able to like get back to somewhat normal. And it almost seems like now, unfortunately, very normal to teach with masks on. If I could go back and do it all over again, the number one thing that I would change is me. I would approach this with more calm. Because it was an unknown, I felt like I was panicking a lot. And I spent a lot of time trying to deliver school products in a way that would appeal to kids who had spent a year on TikTok, Zoom, Instagram. So I would probably alter my lessons even more to include social components, because it seems like that's what kids were missing the most. The ability to work with other people is crucial in the job market and in their future. So I think that I would do that. And if I had to go back and do it all over again, I would start with that. So I think, will school go back to how it was before? Yes, probably. I just really hope that it goes back better.